Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Monday, it's February 13th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And not a lot of trades today. This was a nice uptrend, but there weren't a lot of trades today. We spent a good bit of this day actually going sideways here. I would say the uptrend really started here off the trend line, but I would say we really didn't start making another leg up until here. So if you look at that, really from around 8:40 to 10:40, we just went sideways. So a couple hours there, and then so that only left the afternoon. But this was a pretty nice move. Most of your trades came in the afternoon as well. There just wasn't much happening this morning. These were rather difficult to catch. Um, this one, the first trade here actually happened right at 7 o'clock. So you still would have had time to get in there if you were here by 7. But it actually went lower and turned and went out the upper side. And that all happened right before 7. But this bar came along, and when it broke above there, you might have considered going ahead and entering that one. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, there just weren't a lot of chances to enter. But you can see what happened was we came off the upper side of the trend line, and we couldn't really go higher again until we got back over to the actual trend line. What did I say here? I'm not sure if I said the upper trend line, but the trend channel line is what I generally call this. This is the midline, and this is the trend line. So notice what happens when you normally come off the upper side, it heads back to the other side, and that's what it was doing. And notice that's when it's got its start again. And you get another nice move up. So really, this is the reason we're going sideways here, is it's trying to correct, but the market's too strong to go backwards, so it really just kind of goes sideways over to the trend line and then goes higher. And that's generally a pretty good sign that we're probably going to continue higher. That trend's probably going to continue for a while. I would have measured this first move right here like so, and then come over here where it restarted. And you probably would have even measured, really, that's where the lower point is. So notice we got I mean, it's basically a perfect. Let's just see. I want a ticker so higher. So, but if it kept going higher, I probably would have moved it over to this point as well, just to see if you could make that. Of course, we didn't, but if you're using that first move right there, and you come to where the next lowest point is and move it up, it's almost a perfect measured move. So, but let's back out. We'll go through the trades real quick. It won't take long at all today because there's just not much to talk about. Again, most all the trades were in the afternoon. And just kind of had to sit here this morning. This is where people really struggle and they force trades. But notice, really, there's only a couple of places that if you entered on any correction that you would have got burned, and that was probably here. But we'd just come off the high, and we were moving sideways here, so that's a good enough reason to stay out. But notice pretty much anything that really corrected more than, I mean, that's a pretty good correction. You would have been pretty good. You're kind of going sideways, you get that failed break, you'd have been okay. Even on this one, you would have, no, actually this one you would have got stopped out. But then when it comes back to the trend line here, you're good to go. You get a two-legged correction here, you're good to go. And so really just about any decent correction, if you took that low, you were safe. So, I mean, sometimes that's what you have to do. At this point, going across here, I don't think I would have recommended that. That's the reason you only see one really blue trade here. We'll talk about this one when we get to it. But this one, I don't think you want to risk this at all. That's too risky. We just came off the high. And that's your first close outside that trend line. As soon as you go along there, it's going to reverse and come back just about every time. So, okay, sorry, I had an interruption there. That's the only thing about me doing the lesson a little bit early is I get a few more interruptions sometimes because there's still more activity around the office around here. But anyway, let's talk about the trades. First trade I saw, notice that we've got a little double, really a triple bottom. That's like a new low. Moving up, you get a first entry, you get a second leg up. Second entry, it fails. It actually goes lower and turns. Just go long on that out the upper side. You're probably headed back at least to this high. It's close there whether you'd had enough room, but I think I'd risk that one with the trap and all. And of course, it keeps moving. This one I'm not as crazy about. Um, it's like it's a double bottom though. Look how many times we tested that low, and then you pull back and it bounces right off the midline too. But you probably should have had that midline because you could draw this line and instantly drag it up to the high, and then put it across the find the midpoint, and it seems to be fitting. And when it bounces right off that, that's a pretty good sign. And we're not back up to this upper side yet. So even though you got a break of this shorter term one, you're probably going to push to a new high. This thing pushes all the way up. It actually gets a little bit of an overshoot there. Then we pull back, and like I said, I'm not going to risk that one because no sooner than you go long right there, this thing turns down and heads to the trend line. And you get stopped out. Of course, this time it didn't, but 9 times out of 10, it probably doesn't do this, and that's what it'll do. It'll do this just enough to make you think you want to try it the next time, and guess what happens next time? We all know what happens. You're a donator. You give your money to somebody else, so don't be a donator. But notice we're coming across here, and we make this. We're just really going sideways. Lots of little bars going sideways. And then we have this little failed break lower and a nice bullish bar. It actually went out the upper side first, which generally that's a pretty good clue it may go on. So you might have let it break above this bar and tried to get a little better entry, which it would have gotten filled here. So you might have been out of this trade. I wouldn't add on here because it's right into those highs, and I really would have thought this might go on if we were going up to the upper side again. But when it tries to go lower a second time and it bounces and gives you that reversal bar, it went lower first and turns and closes on its high right off the trend line. That confirms that trend line. It's a double test. It's a failed second entry short. Every reason in the world, I'm jumping in right there. And if I'm already in, I'm probably adding on right there. That's a perfect setup. Somebody actually sent me a question about this, wanting to know what I thought about it. That right there is a perfect setup. And by that time, you probably would have moved this down like this, and it's a double test of that level. It confirms the trend line. It's the third touch. It's a reversal bar that went lower first and turns and closes on its side. It's all kind of reasons to like that trade. That's what you're looking for, and you're hoping it takes off like it did here. Again, they trapped everybody out before it went higher. And I guess it's because probably we've been going sideways a while. So it does pull back. And again, I really thought it would take off by now. So I don't like entering this one until it plays out. And that's not a perfect signal bar, but it's still, if you move this line back up there to where we originally had it, you can see it closes inside that. And it's only 2 ticks, so it's very low risk entry. It's a second entry long. You've got your break of this, a new low. That's what you want to see. And so we're probably headed higher. How high? You don't know. So just let it play out. But it does. It takes off. You get a first entry short. You go up. You get a second entry short. It fails. And look how everything's closing back inside that trend line. At that point, I'm measuring this move and seeing if we get a measured move. And you see we actually went higher than that. So, but yeah, you get your failed second entry short here, and so I like entering on that one. Actually, it never broke above, so really this is still the same entry. I'm not going to make 2 entries there, but you could have entered on either one of them, basically. So notice how we're making lower highs each time, or higher lows, I'm sorry. We're making even highs, but we're making higher lows each time, and each one of those bars is very bullish. That's a good sign. We're probably going to make another leg up. Or at least you're probably going to get a scalp because you've got a little double trap. It looked like it was going to be a short trap, and then it looks like people might have got short to trap to the short side, and then it looks like it's going to be a long trap right here, and it just fools everybody and traps the shorts. And that's why you don't try to counter trend trade on days like this, because it just usually keeps going. Even if you get a little break or something, you're better to stick with the trend until you get a confirmed trend line going in the other way, or your reversal pattern. And notice there's a reversal pattern here. I marked it in green because it's really right into the lows, but at that point you weren't sure the lows were there. Originally I had it here, and it might even still be there because you're getting some closes there. But notice how we kept pushing down. But notice that high, you pull back first entry long, you push through the EMA from underneath, you come back and test it, and you get a failed second entry long. Really bearish bar right there. So I liked going short there. And a lot of times your trend line will start off those first two lower swings, and so you had that to kind of look at that kind of looked promising too. I did mark it in green because it's not a perfect setup. It's a little bit risky, a little bit aggressive, but it does fit the criteria. We've had a break over here, a couple legs up. Now we're selling off. We got a reversal pattern, and who's to say that this isn't down here somewhere? And if it was, you had a long way to go, but it looks like it's probably right there in the end. And but either way, it still would have worked. And it's late in the day too, so that's another reason it's green. But yeah, that's what I saw today. Like I said, not a lot of trades, but if you caught some of these, you probably did okay. And I mean, even this very first one of the day, if you caught it, you probably would have had a runner. Would you ride it out while it's going sideways here? As long as you don't have a break of that trend line, maybe. You risk giving back some of it if you're wrong. But, you know, you might have caught a runner early on and been able to ride this. So, I mean, that's what you want to try to do. I have a hard time with that, just to be honest with you. And that's all personality driven. Some people, I'm more of a scalper. I like to find the good entries, get in and get my money and get out. I can't stand to watch, say, have profit all the way up to here and then it start backing up and take it all back. I'd rather exit with my money and then look for a new entry, and that's just me. So like if I enter here, my target's probably the upper side, and I may exit even all my runners when we get close to that line or touch it, or right before you reach it, just in case it jumps up there and reverses real quick on you. It crushes me to see that money in my can, so to speak, and then the market take it all back. So I'd rather exit and come back and look for another entry. But I'm pretty good at picking the entries. Some people struggle at that, and they're better at managing their trade. So if that's your personality, then don't exit and try to get more, do more swing trading. Try to get those runners and keep them going. So the reason I don't talk about that more is for that very reason, because a lot of that's personality driven. And my personality just doesn't lend to, locking in a trade and hanging on to it and watching it go up and down, and have money, take money away. Of course, if you can be patient and deal with that, in the end, a lot of times it pays off. But it's just not me. So, but I don't want to discourage others from trying that, because if you may struggle trying to find entries and jump in and out, because I know it works both ways. And so that's the reason I talk more about the entries and kind of leave the exit strategy more to you. Just follow the rules on everything else. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. We're almost halfway through another month. This is a short month, so technically tomorrow we'll be halfway through. And it's just hard to believe that we're already halfway through the second month of the 2017 year. So the days are flying by. But hopefully you're having fun. Hopefully you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.